Hey, this is the Review Junkie, and today I'll be reviewing the new historical drama film, She Said. As always, my review will be illustrated and the artwork is done by myself. This new film stars Carey Mulligan, Zoe Kazan, Patricia Clarkson, Andre Braugher, and Jennifer Ely. The film is directed by Maria Schrader. This is a non-spoiler review, so everything I discuss will have been shown in the trailer. Absolutely no spoilers. I'll tell you briefly about the plot, the characters, my pros and cons, final thoughts, and if this is worth checking out at your local movie theater. The plot pertains to two real-life New York Times journalists whom are researching sexual harassment in the workplace. They end up breaking one of the most important stories of the 21st century that helped ignite a movement and also brought down one of the most serial sexual predators of our time. Now, when I saw this trailer months ago, I knew I was going to watch this film. Journalism films are one of my favorite genres, and it's one we don't see very often. It does have a tough subject matter, and anyone who has been watching current events since 2017 will be familiar with this story. I remember when it originally happened, and everyone at work was talking about it. And due to its heavy coverage, the film's outcome will not be a surprise to anybody, but it's the things that happen in between the performances and the storytelling of the film that really keeps audiences glued to the screen. Now, I really enjoyed this film, and that may not be the best word to describe it, but I thought it was well crafted. That doesn't mean that it's a perfect film. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but I think it's an important story that needs to be told for so many reasons. The best way that I can describe this film's narrative is that it feels like a manual of standard operating procedures because the journalism aspect is repetitive. It's like a manual that your boss or coworker gives you on day one and says, "These are the steps we follow to reconcile this report." It's very step one, step two, step three, step four, etc. Now, 90% of the film is focused on the Harvey Weinstein investigation, and they do show the two characters outside of work and the things they have going on in their personal lives. I thought the film did a really good job of capturing how they go about researching their latest topic, the things they have to go through, the traveling, the note taking, and it's just this whole big process that's involved. You see all of this play out as they interview people face to face. The director does a good job of creating a sense of uncertainty and danger involved with being a journalist, but maybe more so on this particular assignment because of Harvey's access to wealth, and because of it, he can use bullying journalist tactics, lawsuits, bribery, and doing what he needs to do in order to get the story buried. Everything has a price tag, and so does silence. Now, this leads me into my pros and cons of the film, and my first pro are the performances. The film chronicles their journey as they interview various victims and former employees at Miramax. Both Carrie and Zoe bring a level of sophistication to their performances because of the fact it takes place in a 9 to 5 setting. It's a corporate office job to the T. The two leads don't have the ideal traditional scenes audiences may think of to get an Oscar, but their emotion is one filled with silence. It's reserved anguish, pain, and frustration. As they continue with their investigation, one can see the emotional toll it takes on them. It hits them in all aspects of life, and their 9 to 5 job isn't really 9 to 5 anymore. I also like that it was shot in the famous New York Times headquarters in the heart of Times Square. There are tons of scenes in the building, and hopefully they got the COVID discount. I'm sure it wasn't cheap filming there. Okay? Okay. Now, Zoe actually has this one standout scene where she's interviewing a man, and this scene was shot so well because there is this uneasiness in the air as she tries to be as elusive as possible because she doesn't want personal information to leak. It's the way the scene plays out, how she tries to keep it confidential, and the way the male character persistently tries to get answers from her while she remains evasive. It was very well done. My next pro is the pacing of the film. It may be a slow burn and tedious, but I feel it does ultimately culminate at a certain point with a sense of relief that all the hard work actually paid off. The director lets the film breathe and lets each scene just play out and never felt rushed, and even though it transitions from scene to scene, it never bothered me. You'll see them working on an interview that lasts 5 minutes, but the director slices the scene to appear as if it went on for several days, which I thought was effective. The director does a good job with the tone of the film and getting the message across in terms of how this impacted each victim's life. There isn't nudity of any kind, but when they are explaining what transpired, the camera will focus on something else from a dark lit hotel hallway or a hotel room with a woman's purse on the floor and all her personal items just sprawled out. I thought this was effective and brought a sense of eeriness by having those graphic details being spoken of while showing us other images versus the actual act itself. Next, the film does an excellent job of highlighting how many people were complicit and allowed this to continually happen, and to this day, it is still happening. I felt anger and frustration when watching this, especially the scenes where people knew something was wrong and turned the other way. I found it very relatable because of the job setting and how serious matters are continually swept under the rug. I remember a situation I was in years ago when I had a horrible manager who didn't know how to manage. She would take 4 hour lunch breaks and constantly throw her coworkers under the bus due to her inability to recall. She just couldn't remember anything. I was basically getting a paycheck to be treated like a human punching bag, and that's not what I signed up for. So I contacted HR, and of course, they played the dark arts and sided with her, even though I had actual evidence and emails detailing specific events. In addition, my coworker reported her to HR as well for similar issues, and her whole team quit in under 1 year. How that doesn't raise multiple red flags is beyond me, but it goes to show what's highlighted in the film applies to every aspect of life. I hope that HR rep I worked with has trouble sleeping at night knowing what she did. Taking notes, making a report, and filing it away in a cabinet for no one to see is not proper action. It's rather insidious and evil. Also, Carrie has this amazing standout scene when she is dropping F bombs left and right to a man she encounters, and I loved every juicy second of that scene. I secretly wish I could say that to my old manager and HR because they need a good couple of loud F bombs to let them know they screwed up. Okay? Okay. Now, I only have one con for the film, and it's the suspense element. I thought there would be more suspenseful moments, and in the trailer, they talk about being vigilant and going about their day as if their phone is being recorded and they're being followed. But it wasn't the type of suspense I thought of. They do touch upon it, but I felt it was so light and they never discussed or showed it again. Given it's a slow burn, a few moments of suspense and thrills would have really elevated the film's somber tone with some small pitter patters of excitement, just a jolt or burst of energy. So this brings me to my final thoughts, and this film gets a solid 9 out of 10 from me because of all the brave victims that told their stories and brought this to the big screen. I would definitely recommend you check this out in theaters because of the sensitive subject, the message, and the amazing performances by the cast. If you're fascinated by journalism and intrigued by the Me Too movement and want to get insight to how things unfolded, this is the best way to do so besides reading the actual book. The director isn't giving a film with stylistic visual flair, but it's competent and well made, and sheds light on so many nefarious things that go on. The film is a voice for the voiceless who can never speak up because they have no platform. So please send your theater some love and check this one out. Now, I hope you enjoyed this review. Also, if you like, please subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. Hit that thumbs up button. Feel free to share this with your friends. Thanks so much for checking out my review. Hope you enjoyed it. And leave your comments below on whether you like the film or not. And I hope the pictures put a smile on your face.